It is currently unclear whether this will come to pass. After all, a free trade agreement between the USA and the two neighboring countries is still in place at the moment. Nevertheless, the threats give a first impression of what the European industry will be facing in the coming years. If the punitive levies are actually imposed, analysts and experts believe they could have a more far-reaching impact than higher tariffs on imports from Europe. In recent years, Mexico has developed into an important location for the global automotive industry. European manufacturers such as Stellantis and Volkswagen, US companies such as Ford and GM, as well as numerous suppliers have settled in the country in order to benefit from lower wages and good access to the US market. Should levies now become due from January, this business model would be shaken. The time would be too short to change the supply chains, wrote the analysts at Bernstein. The impact on US manufacturers would be so great that it's hard to imagine at this point that it's anything more than a negotiating tactic by Trump. 80% of cars from Mexico go to the USA. In 2023, roughly as many cars were imported into the USA from Mexico as from the European Union. And the USA is by far the most important customer for the factories in the Central American country. Around 80% of all vehicles built in Mexico went to the northern neighboring country in the first 7 months of the year, according to the Mexican Industry Association. The impact would be correspondingly high if this sales channel were to stop working so well. Analysts at the investment bank Intermonte assume that every percentage point of additional customs duty could reduce pre-tax profits by around 160 million euros at the Italian-French-American manufacturer Stellantis, which owns brands such as Chrysler, Jeep, Opel, Fiat and Peugeot. According to Reuters calculations, the tariffs brought into play by Trump could cost up to around 4 billion euros in profits. Stellantis currently operates 2 plants in Mexico. The Ram pickup trucks and minibuses are built in Saltillo, while medium-sized Jeep Compass SUVs roll off the production line in Toluca. Last week, the head of the Ram brand said that the company would be open to reconsidering a planned relocation of production to low-wage countries should Trump impose tariffs. Mexico is also an important production location for VW, although Europe's largest car manufacturer operates a large plant in Chattanooga in the US state of Tennessee. The long wheelbase version of the best-selling Tiguan, the Jetta and the Taos are manufactured at the largest Mexican plant in Puebla, primarily for the US market. Daniel Schwartz, an analyst at the investment bank Stifel, calculates that around 2/3 of the cars sold by VW in the USA would no longer be competitive. In addition, the Ingolstadt premium subsidiary Audi currently has no production capacity in the USA but also uses a plant in Mexico. It was only in the summer that the Ingolstadt-based company announced that the successor to the large electric SUV Q8 e-tron would no longer be built in Brussels but in Mexico. The vehicle is particularly important for the US market. Relocating production to the USA. One way out for companies would be to relocate production in such a way that no or lower customs duties are incurred. In recent years, European car manufacturers and suppliers have invested heavily in their own plants in the USA, especially in the traditionally Republican southern states. BMW, for example, operates its largest plant in the world in South Carolina and builds around 400,000 cars there every year, around half of which are exported. At the beginning of November, BMW CEO Oliver Zipse told analysts that the plants could be increasingly used for the US market. This provides a natural hedge against possible tariffs. BMW mainly imports the 3 Series to the USA from Mexico. If this no longer pays off due to higher tariffs, the 3 Series could also be brought to the USA from Munich, and so the car manufacturers are preparing for different scenarios without knowing what is really in store for them. If we take into account what Trump has done in the past, he will use the threat of tariffs as leverage, said Nick Klein, logistics expert at analyst firm OEC Group. But it's impossible to say what he'll do next.